Hey guys, so I'm here to talk about my gallbladder surgery experience. So one night I think it was in the summer, 2020, don't really remember when, but one night after having dinner, a couple hours later I started having pain in my stomach. And I've always grown up with pain, like stomach problems, stomach pain, stomach aches. I've always grown up with that, so it usually leads to me on the toilet for hours. So I just thought it was, a regular stomach pain, although I didn't feel like I needed to go to the washroom. It just hurt. And then I just kind of let it hurt for a while because, I thought it was what I normally have. And then it started to travel to my chest. It started at my lower right hand side. It's traveled to my chest. And then at in the middle of the night, it traveled to my back. And I had taken 2 Advils that night, couldn't sleep until 5 a.m. and I had to wake up for work the next day. So it was not fun, and the reason why it sounded alarm bells for me was the pain that it traveled to areas where it never used to. So the next day I made a call to my family doctor. I told him what happened, and he said that it sounds like it could be gallstones, and ordered me to take I think blood test as well as ultrasound to look in this area. And the results came back, and he said, looks like I have gallstones, 2 of them around 1.5 to 2 centimeters big for each one, which he said was quite big. And at the time, because of the pandemic, he said that, not sure if I wanted to go into surgery to remove them, given, everything that was happening, or if I wanted to wait until, the next episode, pain episode. And at the time I said, you know what, I'm not sure, maybe I can wait it out. I don't know if this is a great time to go into having surgery. So he said that maybe to minimize the pain episode, I should maybe change up my diet a little bit. And he understands that, it's not possible to only eat clean. It just, it's not humanly possible, but he said to try and limit it. So then I limit myself to not having too many fried food and fats because the gallbladder processes fat. And the reason why the gallstones are an issue is because sometimes it blocks the gallbladder from processing the fat properly. So from what I understand, if you're a doctor, let me know if I'm wrong. And the gallbladder processes all kinds of fat. So it's not just fried food, but it also processes fat from avocados, healthy fats. So what I found, or what I've learned from my research, is that gallstones affects women predominantly. Don't know why, not sure, but it does. At that point, jumping back, sorry, I'm all over the place, but jumping back to deciding to just see how it goes. A couple months go by, and my husband and I, Sam, we're thinking about starting a family and having kids, and then I thought about the gallstones. Does it affect that? because I'm not sure. I don't know. So I booked another appointment with my doctor, and he said that he'll have to refer me to a specialist, but he believes that women who are pregnant and have gallstones are more susceptible to the pain flare-ups. And if that happens during a pregnancy, it is not great for the fetus, because they can't operate, or they try not to operate on pregnant women because of the complications that can happen. So he does recommend that if possible, I should remove it before I try to get pregnant, to minimize those complications. So, I said, okay, that sounds fair. So I set up an appointment with a specialist, and he echoed the same sentiment. He said even if I wasn't trying to get pregnant, or never thought about getting pregnant, or never having kids, he still recommends removing the gallstones because they're quite big. There's 2 of them, and it's worse if they start to travel outside of the gallbladder, because it can definitely block the veins, or whatever you call it. So after that, made a decision. We're gonna do a surgery. He told me about all the potential complications that can happen from a surgery. For example, and this is more prone to older people who maybe have more health problems or health issues. But once he opens up, he does a laparoscopic surgery, which means he doesn't technically cut me open, but he does makes 4 small incisions. So 1 here, 1 on my upper body, 1 in my belly button, and 2 on my side. During the surgery, there is a potential to have to damage the organs around it, can cause bleeding, but it's 1 in 1,000 chances, and mostly affects older people. So he doesn't think it would happen to me. So it is what it is. With any surgery, there are always risk. So I decided to go through with it, and so for 2 weeks before the surgery, my husband and I quarantined because I have to take a COVID test a few days before the surgery, and if it's positive, they have to cancel the surgery, obviously. So for 2 weeks before, we quarantined just to make sure I don't get COVID before the surgery, which obviously I didn't. The day before, I can't have any liquids after 12 or food after 12, and I knew that once the surgery happens, my appetite for food probably won't be as healthy, or I won't have a big appetite. So I ate quite a bit before my surgery because I knew I wasn't going to be able to eat those foods, so I really indulged. The day of my surgery, it was at 9:30. My surgery is scheduled for 9:30 a.m. and I had to be at the hospital by 7:30. My husband couldn't be there with me. I was there by myself, which kind of sucked, but given the circumstances, it is what it is. And since it's a minor laparoscopic surgery, I wasn't too scared, although I was a little bit. They prepped me. I had to remove all of my clothes except for my underwear. Nope, I had to remove my underwear too. Nope, yes, you're right. Nope, I had to remove my underwear. I could only keep my socks on, which is what I did. And they weighed me, prepped me, went into the surgical operating room, and this is when I started to freak out a little bit, because, you know, I was like, oh, they're gonna cut, like, they're gonna make incisions. 4 incisions. And then the nurse did a really good job in trying to calm me down, trying to get me to talk, asking me questions. Where do you work? What do you do? You know, things like that. And then they put an IV in me and gave me a mask. They said it's oxygen and that I should take a deep breath, which I did, and that's the last thing I remember after breathing that in. Then I remember waking up, and then they were wheeling me into a room where I was still so very drowsy. And they wheeled me into a room, and I think I just fell asleep back again, because I'm not quite sure on the timeline about that. I felt so drowsy. They woke me up again, and this time it was around 12, lunchtime, noon, 12, and told me that they were calling my husband to let them know that the surgery's done, everything went well, and that to tell him to come pick me up. At the time I was still pretty out of it, pretty drowsy. I remember they brought me my clothes, and I woke up, and they helped me out of the bed. I put on my clothes. I remember moving very slowly, still drowsy. I didn't feel pain, it just felt numb, this whole area. I got dressed, they put me in a wheelchair, and they wheeled me out. Sam came to pick me up, got in the car, I went home, and immediately I went straight into the bed because I was still so out of it and drowsy. And I took a nap, and after that, when I woke up, Sam went out to get groceries, and I should have just stayed in bed, but I needed to go to the washroom, so I forced myself up, which I recommend you do not do that, especially hours after surgery, because afterwards I realized that I was bleeding out of my incisions, probably because of the effort that I was exerting on myself. I can post some pictures here for you to see what it looked like the same day. As you can see, there's some blood, and that was from getting myself up, and I was so bloated and so swollen. Yeah. It was not comfortable. I was just so swollen, and I couldn't even really wear leggings or any kind of pants because it was too tight on my stomach. So what to expect after your surgery is that everything is swollen, and when you touch it, it feels swollen, and also not the pain that it like your regular pain, but it does feel somewhat painful. I just want to quickly hop on here because one thing I totally forgot to talk about right after my surgery was that I had the worst sore throat because of the tubing that had to go down my throat. So, you know, if you're going to have the surgery, I recommend having a bag of throat lozenges by your bed, because that really helped my throat feel better, and it was just easy just to have it. I even I had it when I was sleeping, just slept with the throat lozenge in my mouth, and that really helped me with my sore throat and sped up my recovery for my sore throat. And back to schedule programming. Definitely have someone to help you. My husband helped me get up and go to sleep because you don't even understand that you use your core muscles to get up and to like fall back to bed. So I slept on like on a lot of pillows, make sure the height was good for me, because I tried to sleep on my full flat back, maybe like even like 2 or 3 days in, and it was no bueno. Like it was just not comfortable. So for like 4 or 5 days, I recommend just maybe even a week, sleeping on high pillows, and making sure you're like angled properly, and having someone like lift you and like lay you back into bed. Just try not to use your core muscles at all because it does like hurt. And they gave me like medicine, like painkillers to take. But I found that when I took 1 or 2 and it made me so nauseous. And so nauseous that I like the first night, I think, or the second night, it must have been the first night, I had to vomit. Although I didn't vomit a lot, it was mostly like water, but it just had that feeling. And then after that, I didn't take those painkillers. I took Advil instead, and that helped. This pain and swelling, the swelling took a week or 2 to go down. And after a week, I was able to peel off my bandages and see, and it didn't look pretty. It didn't look pretty at all. And the doctor said that, you know, after a week I could return to work, which I did because I work from home. It's an office job. I don't have to lift anything heavy. But for 4 weeks, you can't lift anything over 20 pounds. So, and I would say even like just don't lift anything heavy at all. And 2 weeks in, I thought I was feeling a lot better, and so I had like a glass of wine here and there, and then at 3 weeks I thought I was feeling pretty good, and started to work out, which I do not recommend. Don't do it. Don't have that glass of wine. Don't work out for 4 weeks. Just relax, which I learned my lesson. Just relax. Don't try to rush getting back into a routine, getting back into working out. Just don't do it, and I'll tell you why later. And one thing that like I learned that no one told me was that if you're a woman and you have this surgery, you're going to bleed for 3 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks, just like spotting, a lot of spotting. And then after you spot, you don't get a break, but you go right into your period again. So I literally bled for like 4 to 5 weeks. And let me tell you, it is not fun. Your immune system is way weak from the surgery, from you bleeding all the time. So no one told me that. I had to Google it to find out that, like, why am I spotting for like 3 freaking weeks? And apparently when you have a laparoscopic surgery, it tends to happen. I feel like the doctors should have told me that or prepared me for that, you know? So I was feeling a lot better, although I started drinking wine and started exercising, and that was my downfall because at my 3rd or going into my 4th week after my surgery, I developed shingles. I had woken up on New Year's Eve with a rash on my bottom right hand side of my back, and I thought it was a regular rash. Maybe I was allergic to something. but it started to like travel throughout the day, and I sent a picture of it to my pharmacist friend, and she said it looks like shingles. So it was New Year's Eve. I didn't have anywhere to go, so I went to the ER to, you know, get it correctly diagnosed and to get started on my antiviral medication. At that point, I had already Googled a lot of things. It did not look good on Google. So I went into the ER. They took a look at it, confirmed it is shingles. They were very surprised someone as young as I has shingles. But you know, I knew it was like my immune system was weak and from the surgery, and I shouldn't have started drinking alcohol and working out. I just should not have done that. So, and also I had Googled shingles, and it said that for a few days before the rash appears, you should have some kind of numbing pain in that area that you developed the rash. And you know what? For a few days before, I had some pain here, but I thought I like maybe just strained my back from the workout. That feeling of like you like strained a muscle or something like that. That's the kind of pain it felt like. That was a few weeks ago, and my shingles are pretty much gone. It's just really dry and crusty. And my incisions are pretty good, no infections. I went to a post-op appointment with my surgeon. He checked, everything looks good. There is still like a bump when I run over the incisions, especially my belly button one, because that was the biggest one. And he said that it's because there's like a knot tied, you know, on the other side. And he said it takes about 3 or 4 weeks for it to disappear. 3 or 4 months, sorry, for it to disappear. So I'll still have those bumps for a while. I can show you how it looks now. I'm wearing, but so here's my belly. Can you see? Can you see? Here's my belly button one. And then here's another incision. Pretty good, although not as good as this is one here and one here. So it should fade over time. This is part of my shingles and the other part of my shingles. So yeah, that's been the last few weeks of 2020 and like the first month of 2021. This is how it's been going. But I'm starting to feel more like myself again. And if you have a gallbladder surgery scheduled, good luck to you. Please take it easy. Don't do what I do. Don't make my mistakes. Just relax, you know, and take your time to get better. All right, thanks for watching. See you guys later.